Long ago, in the heart of the ancient world, the Persian Empire rose in unmatched beauty and power, its cities glowing beneath the rising sun. Here, within the walls of the magnificent royal palace, destinies were shaped, decisions were made, and history quietly waited to unfold. And within this world, themes of courage, identity, and purpose shimmered like threads of light, waiting for the one who would bring them to life. Among millions lived a young woman named Esther, humble, gentle, and unaware that her very life would soon change an entire nation. Because sometimes one act of courage, just one, can send ripples across an empire and alter the course of history forever. And so Esther's journey begins, unrolling like an ancient scroll, revealing hidden paths, unexpected turns, and divine purpose. Come closer, let the story unfold. From his royal throne in the capital city of Susa, King Xerxes rules over a massive empire stretching from India all the way to Ethiopia. To show off his glory, he hosts an extravagant celebration, 6 months of displaying the kingdom's riches, followed by a 7-day banquet for everyone in the city. The courtyard is decorated with blue and white linen, silver rings, marble columns, and couches made of gold and silver. Guests drink from gold cups, each cup completely unique. And the king orders that no one should be limited. Everyone can drink as much as they want. Meanwhile, inside the palace, Queen Vashti is hosting her own banquet for the women. On the 7th day, when the king is feeling good from the wine, he calls for 7 of his personal servants. He gives them one command: bring Queen Vashti to him wearing her royal crown so he can show off her beauty to all the officials. But when the servants deliver the message, Queen Vashti refuses. The king is shocked, then furious. He turns to his advisors, wise men who understand the laws of Persia and Media. What should be done, the king asks, to Queen Vashti, who refused to obey my command? One advisor, Memucan, steps forward. He warns that Vashti's refusal won't just affect the king, it might influence women across the whole empire. He says, when women hear what she's done, they'll think they can ignore their husbands too. So Memucan suggests a strict solution: issue a royal law, remove Vashti from her position, and give her royal place to someone better. The king agrees. The decree is sent throughout the kingdom. Later, when his anger fades, Xerxes begins thinking about Vashti again. His officials see this and suggest a plan. Let a search be made for beautiful young women across the empire. Bring them to the king's palace, and the one who pleases the king most will become the new queen. The king approves the idea, and the search begins. Across the vast Persian Empire, royal officials travel from province to province, gathering young women to bring to the palace in Susa. Among them is Esther, gentle, wise, and remarkably beautiful. She has been raised by her cousin Mordecai ever since she lost her parents. As Esther enters the royal courts, she carries a quiet secret. She is Jewish. Following Mordecai's counsel, she keeps her heritage hidden for her own protection. In the palace, she is placed under the care of Haggai, the king's attendant over the women. Immediately, she earns his favor. He provides her with the best food, the finest beauty treatments, and selects 7 attendants to serve her. Esther is moved to the most desirable quarters of the harem. Each day, Mordecai walks near the palace courtyard, hoping to hear any word about her. Though she now lives among luxury, Esther remains humble, kind, respectful, and faithful to Mordecai's guidance. Before any woman could meet the king, she had to complete 12 months of preparation, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 with perfumes and cosmetics. Only then would she be presented to King Xerxes. When Esther's moment finally arrives, she requests nothing except what Haggai recommends. And when she steps before the king, something remarkable happens. King Xerxes is instantly drawn to her. Her beauty, her grace, her quiet strength. Everything sets Esther apart. The king places the royal crown on her head and proclaims her the new queen of Persia. A magnificent celebration follows, the banquet of Esther. Gifts are sent throughout the provinces, and the entire empire rejoices over its new queen. While Esther settles into her new life in the palace, something critical unfolds outside the royal gates. Mordecai uncovers a plot. Two of the king's guards, stirred by anger, are planning to assassinate King Xerxes. Without hesitation, Mordecai sends word to Esther. She reports it to the king, making sure Mordecai receives full credit. The plot is investigated, confirmed to be true, and the conspirators are executed. The entire incident is then recorded in the royal chronicles. While Esther serves faithfully as queen and Mordecai keeps his quiet vigil near the palace gates, a new presence begins to rise in influence. Haman, son of Hammedatha, the Agagite. The king promotes Haman above all the other nobles, and soon people bow wherever he passes. His robes trail across the polished floors, his jewels flash in the torchlight, and with every display of honor, his pride swells. To Haman, authority isn't just power. It is something he expects all people to revere. But at the king's gate stands one man who refuses to kneel Mordecai. He honors the king. He respects the law, but he will not bow to Haman. Mordecai bows to God alone. When Haman notices Mordecai standing upright while others kneel, fury ignites within him. Who would dare refuse him? Who would dare deny the respect he believes he deserves? Soon, Haman learns the reason. Mordecai is Jewish, and his anger twists into a deep hatred, not just for Mordecai, but for all Jews. Rather than punish a single man, Haman conceives a far darker scheme. He approaches King Xerxes with deception and clever manipulation. There is a certain people scattered throughout your provinces, he warns. They follow their own laws, different from ours, and they do not obey the king's commands. It is not in your best interest to tolerate them. Trusting Haman completely, the king agrees. Unaware of the devastation Haman intends to unleash, a decree is drafted and sealed with the king's own signet ring. It declares that on a chosen day, the Jewish people, men, women, and children, may be attacked and destroyed. The announcement spreads rapidly. The city erupts in confusion. Jewish communities across the empire sink into mourning. Fear sweeps through households like a cold wind. Outside the palace gates, Mordecai rips his clothes in anguish, covers himself in ashes, and cries out in grief for his people. When word of his distress reaches Esther, she becomes deeply concerned. She sends garments for him, but he refuses them. Instead, he sends back a message explaining everything. The decree, the danger, the urgency, and then comes the plea that alters Esther's destiny. You must go to the king, beg him to spare your people. The weight of those words presses heavily on her. She knows the law. She knows the cost. To approach the king without being summoned is to risk death. And she has not been called for 30 days. Fear rises within her. Her hands tremble and her heart races. But the fate of her people now rests with her alone. Esther sends a message back to Mordecai, explaining the danger. She tells him that no one, not even the queen, may enter the king's presence without being summoned. Anyone who does risks immediate death unless the king extends his golden scepter. But Mordecai replies with one of the most powerful truths in Scripture. Do not think that because you are in the palace, you alone will escape. If you remain silent at this time, deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your family will perish. And who knows whether you have come to your royal position for such a time as this?" His words strike Esther deeply. She looks around at the palace walls, the golden pillars, the silk curtains, the quiet footsteps of servants. She remembers the girl she once was, an orphan raised by a loving cousin, now standing as queen in a foreign land. Could it be that every moment of her life, every hardship, and every change has led her to this purpose? A new strength rises within her. Courage pushes back her fear. Esther sends her reply, "Go, gather all the Jews in Susa, fast for me for 3 days. Do not eat or drink. My attendants and I will fast as well. Then I will go to the king, even though it is against the law." She draws a long breath and adds, "And if I perish, I perish." Those words echo through the palace. They are not words of surrender, but of unwavering courage. Esther prepares her heart. Her people begin to fast. The palace grows still as she enters 3 days of prayer, seeking strength beyond her own. She knows what she must do. When the 3rd day arrives, Esther rises. She dresses in her royal robes, not to display her beauty, but to step into her destiny with dignity and faith. As the great doors open, Esther steps inside. The vast throne room stretches before her, filled with polished stone floors and towering pillars. Guards stand motionless, eyes widening as they see her enter uninvited. Everyone knows the law. At the far end of the hall sits King Xerxes on his golden throne. He lifts his gaze toward her, and a long, tense silence settles over the room. Then, slowly, the king raises his hand. The golden scepter extends toward Esther. Relief floods her heart, though she remains poised. She walks forward and gently touches the tip of the scepter. The king leans toward her and says, "Queen Esther, what is your request? Even half the kingdom will be granted to you." Her moment has arrived, yet she chooses wisdom over haste. With calm grace, she replies, "If it pleases the king, let the king and Haman come today to a banquet I have prepared." The king agrees at once. Haman is summoned, and together they attend Esther's feast, carefully prepared, elegant, and full of hidden purpose. During the meal, the king asks again, "What is your request? Even up to half the kingdom, it will be granted." Esther smiles gently and says, "Please return tomorrow, you and Haman, for another banquet. Then I will answer the king's question." The king agrees. Haman leaves feeling honored, important, chosen. But that night, the unexpected happens. The king cannot sleep. He orders the royal chronicles to be read to him, and as the servants go through the records, they come to the account of Mordecai, uncovering the assassination plot. The king sits upright. Has Mordecai been rewarded for this act? "No, my king," the servants answer. At that moment, Haman enters the court, prepared to ask permission to execute Mordecai. Before he can speak, the king asks him, "What should be done for a man the king desires to honor?" Haman's pride swells. Certain the king is referring to him, he describes an extravagant display. Royal garments, the king's own horse, and a public parade announcing the man's greatness. The king nods approvingly. "Excellent. Hurry and do everything you have described for Mordecai the Jew." Haman's expression collapses. He is forced to honor the very man he despises. Humiliated and seething, he leads Mordecai through the streets, proclaiming praises he can barely speak. Afterward, he returns home in disgrace. The moment finally arrives. Esther's second banquet is prepared, a refined, quiet setting, carrying attention only she understands. The king and Haman take their seats, unaware that this evening will change the course of their kingdom. The king studies Esther with growing curiosity. "Queen Esther," he asks again, "what is your request? Whatever it is, even half the kingdom, it shall be yours." Esther's heart races, but her voice is calm. "My king, if I have found favor in your eyes, and if it pleases you, Spare my life, and spare the lives of my people." The king is taken aback. He leans forward, bewildered. "What do you mean? Who would dare threaten you or your people?" Esther turns her eyes toward Haman. "The enemy is this evil Haman." The entire room seems to freeze. Haman's face drains to ash. The king rises in outrage, realizing Haman manipulated him into signing a decree that endangered the queen herself. Furious and shaken, the king steps out into the palace garden to gather his thoughts. He had trusted Haman, exalted him, and Haman twisted that power into wickedness. Inside, panic overtakes Haman. He knows his fate is sealed. Desperate, he throws himself toward Esther, pleading for mercy. As he falls forward, the king re-enters and sees Haman collapsing onto the couch where Esther is seated. To the king, it appears as an attack. "Will he even assault the queen while I am in the house?" he roars. Guards storm in. Haman is immediately restrained. Then one of the king's attendants speaks. "Haman has built a gallows at his home, meant for Mordecai, the man who saved your life." The king's anger deepens. "Hang him on it." In a swift and startling reversal, Haman is executed on the very gallows he intended for Mordecai. Justice has come quickly, but the danger remains. The original decree, the one permitting the destruction of the Jews, cannot simply be revoked. In Persia, a law sealed by the king is permanent. Esther falls before the king again, tears in her eyes. "Please, let my people be saved." Moved by her courage, the king grants Esther and Mordecai the authority to write a new decree. Together, they craft a law giving the Jews the right to defend themselves on the appointed day. Messengers race across the empire carrying the new order. Jewish communities begin to prepare, not with terror but with hope. The day meant for their destruction becomes a day of defense and deliverance. The people stand strong. They fight back, they prevail, and they celebrate their survival with joy. Mordecai is elevated to a position of great authority, second only to King Xerxes, and under his guidance the kingdom enjoys peace and protection. To ensure that future generations never forget this miraculous reversal, Mordecai establishes an annual celebration called Purim, a holiday to remember the rescue, the justice, and the courage that changed history. And at the heart of it all is Esther, a young woman who began life as an orphan, a foreigner in a powerful empire, someone who could have stayed silent. But she didn't. Esther stepped forward when it mattered most. She risked her life to save her people. She discovered strength where fear tried to stop her, and she embraced the purpose for which she had been placed in the palace, for such a time as this. Her story stretches far beyond ancient Persia. It reaches into our own lives. Esther shows us that courage isn't the absence of fear. It is choosing what is right even when fear is present. She reminds us that ordinary people can make extraordinary impact. And she teaches us that our voice, our choices, and our faith can shape the world around us. So we ask ourselves, what opportunities has life placed in our hands? Where can our courage make a difference? What small step can we take that might change someone's life? Esther's story is more than history. It is a living invitation to be brave, to stand for what is right, and to embrace the purpose set before us. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the story of Esther. If this story inspired you, be sure to like, share, and subscribe as we continue exploring stories of faith, courage, and hope. Until next time, walk boldly, stand firmly, and remember, you too were made for such a time as this.